you see from Ernest Jones in his debut, and maybe how much more room is there for him to grow now that he's had a whole week here?
Yeah, I think it's hard for anyone to come in 2 days, 3 days practice and then have to start a game. And there's a lot of similarities in the schemes that we play, but there's different within that is the play call, the details of the plays. So I think for room for growth is huge, and it's more room for understanding and how to use the play and how to make plays, within the system.
What are the coaching points on Devon Witherspoon and his tackling in particular?
Yeah, well, I think some of the alley tackles that he missed a couple of alley tackles this week, and I think the week before. We've been talking about it. Some of it's just taking the space out, taking a shot, understanding where your help is in that, especially when playing vision zone coverage. He's working on it on a daily basis.
What's impressed you about Coby on safety in the 2 games he's filled in for Rich?
He's done a great job. I think, like I said last week, I think his ability has grown to tackle out of the post. And with that, I feel like the confidence, his communication has gone up, and then you see his speed sideline to sideline. He does a good job in coverage too, man coverage.
How do you make Matthew Stafford uncomfortable and get him to concede?
It's a hard job. He's a great player, and you watch the tape, he's not slowing down at all. I think when you're playing these guys, they do a great job with their play calling. They do a great job with pre-snap and their alignments and their movements to kind of slow you down, and understanding what they really try and hunt what coverage you're in and make quick decisions. That will make it hard to get to Matt Stafford. But if we can do our jobs, we can play tight and rush well and rush as one, I think there's a chance to come alive.
How does that affect your defense from a communication standpoint? Because Leo this morning was saying you want to be the last one holding the pen, right? You want to show your cards last. So do you have to make an earlier decision on the defensive side?
It's not earlier decision. It's more like holding your poise. It's more being in position, understanding the timing of the play, and understanding when to move.
Probably is an obvious one, but how does their offense change getting the receivers back last week?
Their receiver. Huge. Obviously, you're talking about 2 elite players in the NFL, guys that understand how to manipulate coverage, understand leverage, understand how really detailed route running and separation at the top of breaks. I think it's huge for them, because when you play like that and you're playing with someone you get large amounts of reps with the quarterback, you can play the game at a very high level, and you see as they've got those guys back, their abilities there to do that.
Ernest Jones, what does his physicality add to this defense?
Yeah, it's good. You see his ability to throw hands. He plays with extension in the box. And I'm excited to play this week. He's playing against his old team. You can tell he's excited about it.
What have you noticed that Robertson-Harris gives you up front?
He's still growing, I was talking to Mike today about it, saying that I'm really excited for this guy. He gives us, I said it last week, he gives us the ability really to move him around, but really play firm edges, ability to set edges, gap and a half, finish on tackles, and then interior rush.
Is the 5 kind of his primary spot? Is that where you like him best, or where you kind of like to see him?
No, it's not really. I see him as a 3 technique or 5 technique, 9 technique, 6 technique, ability to move all over the front.
Leo, can you talk about his leadership and then his understanding? He gave us some insightful stuff during his interview. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I feel like since I've got here, when I arrived in February, meeting and getting to know Leo has been a privilege. I think he's a really fun guy to coach. I've seen him grow as a leader in the defense, especially in his room. And his understanding, he's a really smart player that has physical attributes that are off the chart, I'm excited. I thought this season he's playing at a really high level. He's just got to keep growing, keep taking his opportunities, and I think the sky's the limit for him.
Leo was talking to us earlier. He said when guys are trying to correct the issue, it's been a problem. Sometimes you get guys trying to do too much, maybe do stuff in another gap that's not theirs, or so on and so forth. Have you seen that on tape?
I just think sometimes when you get in those situations where it's later on in the game and kind of a mistake comes up, say we're talking about the run game, they get some leaky yards. Last week there was a lot of leaky yards in the run game. So it's once someone does that, you can't push plays. You can't make a play necessarily outside the system that you're not yours to make. So it's not like one person's done it. It's just that when you're a young defense and you're in those situations, you've got to understand that you got to trust the system. You got to trust your understanding, your fundamentals and technique, and they get you to the ball. You know, like, and I don't know if that's exactly what Leo was talking about, but that's the way I see it.
So you mean when you have A gap, you have A gap. Don't take A and B.
It's your primary gap to your secondary gap. It's your understanding of play to a gap, and then the ball flows and takes you to that gap. But it's not necessarily the same thing happening over and over again. It's just like you just asked. It's when people get in those situations, at times, sometimes people do push to make a play, you know, and when you're playing, say, a running back like James Cook, he's an extremely patient runner that can move in and out of gaps and understands people's leverage and body position. He's got great vision. He can move you in and out of a gap, and understanding that and the timing of the play. So I wouldn't say like people are trying to make plays that aren't there to make. It's just at times people push, and you've got to understand that's where you have to stay the course.
How do you teach that? Because when you're winning, I guess it's easy, right? You've been coached for quite a bit. How you teach that in a professional to stay disciplined when things aren't going well?
Just as you're going through it, like as you're going through run fits and walkthroughs, testing all the gaps, staying in your gap, making your understanding, and as you there's a timing of a play, like I said. So like when you're holding your gap, late gap and a half or late roll back to your secondary gap, those things just come up and you keep teaching and talking through.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.